Hello divas, dudes, and dolls, I'm Caricature, and welcome back to my dark, dreamy, and dorky little review show, Very Slay, where we go over each and every one of the runway looks on RuPaul's Drag Race Season 16. We're getting down to the wire, y'all. After this week's episode, we are down to just half of the cast remaining and just a few episodes left before we crown a new winner, so it's getting down to the wire. It's getting gaggy, y'all. This week was their third design challenge of the season. They had to create a neo-goth look using only black, gray, and white fabrics. I have said this multiple times on the channel. I feel like black is a very hard color to wear on the runway, especially on the show, because you lose a lot of the detail. It's very hard to read where one part of a look ends and the next part begins, and like the way everything is articulated and positioned and all of that jazz. This is gonna be an interesting runway to critique, but I am very excited to get into all of these looks. For anybody who is new here, if I think a look isn't really making any waves at the goth rave, we give it just an okay. If I think it is so fierce it has the power to raise the dead, we give it a slay. If I think the look would make me turn over in my own grave one day, we give it an A. And once again, as a reminder, this is all in efforts to find my weekly slay of the day, my favorite look of the week, which will go into a post-crowning ranking video to determine my slay of the season, my favorite look across every episode, and I will then take that favorite look, put pen to paper, and illustrate that little sucker. And with all of that out of the way, let's get into these looks. First up on the runway this week, we have Plain Jane. I think this moves really beautifully. All of this loose fabric, it reads really fantastic. I love her hair. I love her makeup here. I think the contacts she has with this, I think she's wearing contacts. If she is, they're very effective with this look. I think they're really subtle, but they make a difference. The look, ultimately, it's not anything new, nothing I haven't seen before. I actually really like the way she did the front treatment on this. I think it's really intricate and it looks really cool. So even though it's not particularly my favorite look this week, I think it is still very, very well done. I'm gonna give it a slay. Up next is Maya Iman LePage. I get that she is trying to go for this sort of Morticia Addams thing, but I honestly think that the way that the nude illusion panel in the back, or the sheer element with the lace in the back, the way that's treated, I think ultimately does not make sense with this hair, because the hair covers up almost all of it. Had she done that sort of treatment along the sides of the dress, it would have been more effective overall and it would have read better on stage. This is something I've talked about with Maya before. It's something I've talked about quite a lot on the channel in general. There's a lot of these girls that wear really heavy, big pieces of jewelry and they close off their upper chest and their torso and all of that, or they don't exactly have the like physical real estate to wear something that's so closed off. They need that elongation, they need that length, especially because once you add in a corset and you start adding in padding and all these other little things with drag, it does really throw off your body proportions. So you have to make some tweaks to other areas to get around that and to make that adjustment. She didn't do that. I wish she had done the sheer like down the middle in the front or something, just to like get a little sexier and also at the same time open this up. I think had she put that element on the front instead of the back, that would have done her a huge amount of service. But for me, this is an A. Up next, we have Dawn. I loved this. I've been pretty critical of a lot of her looks and I haven't always really enjoyed most of them. This is my favorite thing she's definitely worn all season. I love how pared down it is in terms of the makeup. I also really, really love the way she handled this drape element on the, it's just a really great proportion. It looks really interesting on the runway and it's got all of the right makings of a phenomenal look. I do wish that maybe the dress bodice was a little more stoned, had a little more detailing to it, but quite literally everything else is fantastic, so I'm giving her a slay. Up next, we have Morphine. Now, she was put in the bottom 3 because they said that this look was pretty simple comparatively. I think this looks gorgeous. There's definitely some construction issues in terms of the spikes and some detailing elements on this. Placement on the skirt where it flares out of this leather looks so good. I'm obsessed with this hair on her, not to mention the fact that this is the best she has looked in terms of makeup in this competition. It's so, so good. Like, I love every little bit of this. For me, I'm giving her a slay. It's a fantastic silhouette, it fits her like a glove, and it gets the job done. Up next is Plasma. Hoo-hoo, girl. I don't like a single thing about this. Props to her for making pants and doing this little like fringy coat moment. But the bodysuit, this houndstooth bodysuit, is not doing anybody any favors. It's just not a great look for her. I think it is kind of giving a little bit high school student. I commend her for taking a very, very different direction than what we're used to seeing with her. But I was not a fan of this, and I think objectively, if we're speaking out of everybody on the runway this week, she was far and away the worst one. I'm giving her a nay. Up next, we have Safira Cristal. I am obsessed with the print on this fabric. I want a bodysuit or something made out of this fabric immediately. If any of y'all out there want to do some sleuthing and see if we can find this fabric and make sure that it's not like a discontinued or out of print situation, I would love to get my hands on something like this. But the fit on this is so good. So good. I love a cape sleeve. She's got a very nice little cape sleeve. I love where this cutout hits in the front. With this hair, she's kind of giving me Lydia from Beetlejuice on her wedding day. This is really cool. I think it's a really effective silhouette on her. I love this, so I'm giving it a slay. Next, we have Nymphia. She is so right when she says that there is nobody in this competition who comes even close to her when it comes to draping. The way that this skirt is handled is so gorgeous. Quite literally like a goth Erte illustration, the way this is handled. It does tickle me that she can't really walk in it, but this headpiece is fantastic. I love the veil element. It's so well done. It's so immaculate. She doesn't ever miss. Like, I think it's impossible for her to, honestly. I think Nymphia and Morphine both really hit the theme head on in terms of like more of a Morticia Addams vibe. So I'm a big fan of both of those for those reasons. I'm giving her a slay as well. And next we have Q. My favorite thing about this is probably the fact that with this makeup, she's going for this porcelain doll effect. And even with the way that the netting is on the top underneath this coat dress, it has that element of like cracked fragments. It's really cool. And I think it works in with the shapes in the makeup. It really pulls them out. I think this is one of my favorite things I've seen her wear all season. And it is incredibly impressive that she made this in a day. I have no idea how she did it. And the fact that it's lined too, this is very, very visually impressive. It moves really well. It's gorgeous in terms of the theme and the print. It really reminds me of Club Kids and a little bit of JoJo Baby from Chicago. This reminds me of something I could see a performer like them wearing, hands down. This is so, so cool. I think this is also one of my favorite makeups she's done in the competition. I think it's just really well done. It's really effective, and I think there was nobody else who came close to her in this category this week in terms of who would win the challenge. Absolutely giving her a slay. And with that out of the way, it's time to select this week's Slay of the Day. There were a number of looks this week, like normal, that I really enjoyed. I loved Morphine's, I loved Nymphia's, I really loved Morphine's, I loved Nymphia's, and I loved Dawn's. Once again on this design challenge, I'm giving it to Q because the scale of this dress is so impressive. It's so well done, it moves incredibly well, it's lined. And all of the fabrics, even though they don't go together, they make sense. And I think out of everybody there, she is one of the few who really nailed the goth vibes, especially in the makeup. So congrats to Q once again. This is what her like fourth one, her fourth slay of the day now, I think, third or fourth, and her second challenge win in the competition. So good for her. Just like any other video, if you enjoyed the content here, please consider dropping a sub, ringing that notification bell, liking, commenting, telling me what your favorite look of the episode was. I'm very curious to know. But again, thank you so much for all of the support over these last couple of months, especially through February. I can't believe we put out 30 plus videos in a month. That is bonkers to me that I edited that much. So thank you for sticking around and not being too terribly annoyed by my voice, by my presence, by whatever this is. So we will see you in the next one, I hope. And until we meet again, be sure to go out there and stay kind, stay queer, and be sure that your day is very slay.